Once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic segment of the Wayne Hall Show, the award winning Wayne Hall Show. And one of the reasons it's an award winning platform is because of the man on your screen, Mr. AM. I call him AM in the PM. He's Mr. Alton Mckenzie. And we have he's part of the platform because for a long time, he's been my go to for sports, especially track and field. And so it's only fair, ladies and gentlemen, that in his personal journey, we are one of the first to congratulate Mr. AM as he is now the director of track and field and cross country at Georgetown University. And so, ladies and gentlemen, join me in congratulating and welcoming a familiar face, Mr. Alton Mckenzie. How are you, my brother?
I'm doing great, Wayne. All things considered in this upside down world, I'm coping and doing as well as I can under the circumstances. So thank you so much.
I, I'm right there with you, my brother. It is unfathomable that when we spoke earlier in the year, the nature
Yeah,
of our conversations about COVID, its impact on track and field, that here we are in November
yeah,
celebrating a very big career milestone achievement and accomplishment for you, man. And I just want to say, from a personal standpoint, congratulations on behalf of my audience, people who have listened to you for information over the years.
yeah.
Congratulations, AM. How does it feel?
I mean, I'm home, so it's just going to a different room in the house, but I'm home, so it's more. I would say it's a relief because it's been in the process for a few months, so it
Yes.
wasn't like I was aware. It wasn't a shock or a surprise, or it wasn't also an expectation from when we spoke. Nothing had been in the works in March. This kind of happened very quickly. My former boss, Coach Cully, resigned in end of August, and
Okay.
I was approached immediately. But things took time. But it wasn't like
Yes.
I was on campus. We weren't competing. We were still dealing with the realities of getting through. I would say the challenges of trying to manage what we were doing specifically at Georgetown. And so it was just more about waiting to see when things would be made official, so to speak. So yeah, it's not like it's not a surprise, but it's also not unexpected, or it's kind of like a relief. Okay, now I can get to do the job. Now I can figure out what I do in this pandemic. Getting a director's position in a pandemic is very interesting as well
Mhm.
because I can't greet the student athletes in person. So that's the challenge that I'm faced with. But I'm happy and excited. It's kind of like I'm like chomping at the bit to get to do what I need to do.
That's right. And we know how passionate you are about what you do. As a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, having known this gentleman for so many years, you don't find a more dedicated person to track and field. He eats, sleeps, he's a walking resource of track and field. And so for you to be the director at a major university like Georgetown, the director of track and field and cross country, it speaks volumes to your hard work and dedication. And you say it's like home. So to piggyback on that, AM, I'm gonna ask you, just walk us through this journey real quick. I know it's
Mhm.
we always leave out the primary
How
school for
far
some
back
reason. But
how far back on the journey? Right. How far back on the journey?
you,
You
you,
want to go
well,
way back to primary school?
well, if you listen, I want to. Yeah, we have a tendency to not mention the primary school. I don't know why.
Yes.
But just
Yeah.
walk us through quick. I know you used to run sports days, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the first discovery was made Catherine Primary. That's where the discovery was made, and I still to this day say I was walking distance from St. Jago High School, and I don't know how they didn't give me a shot. They didn't recruit me. My mother went to St. Jago. My mother went to St. Jago. She high jumped. I don't know if she high jumped for the school, but she was a high jumper. And
Okay.
I lived in Spanish Town. I'm from Spanish Town. I lived, I'm St. Catherine Primary. My first introduction to seeing somebody train was Mark Elliott, who was the head coach at Clemson.
Oh,
Went to
okay.
St. Jago. I would see him running by on Brunswick Avenue. I'm like, that's the only distance run I ever knew from Jamaica. And obviously,
Wow.
he's been one of the best distance runners in Jamaica's history as well. But my vision and view of athletics started at that age, from primary school, from St. Catherine Primary. Of course, I ended up at Calabar, but that was because of the address they put on my common entrance. It was the Spanish Town address was superseded by the address closer to Red Hills Road. So
Okay.
if I use a Spanish Town address, maybe I would have ended up at San Diego. But San Diego didn't recruit me to use the Spanish Town address. Um, anyway,
Interesting.
I went to Calabar because the main reason, to give you an indication, was because my father lived in Kingston, and lived closer to Calabar, and there was a
Okay.
connection with Calabar. My uncle played for Jamaica, who played for Jamaica, went to Calabar. So, family tradition. It wasn't a hard, tough
Decision.
decision to make.
Wow. Well, here we go. And so you went to Calabar.
Mhm.
How does Georgetown University become home for a
Right.
Calabar student?
Good question. So I ran at Calabar. My first experience running competitively. I ran at champs in class 3 hurdles. I wasn't a star. I didn't make the finals. I didn't make it out of the prelims. And so that was 85, I think, 84, 85.
Right.
My running career was supposed to be over. I ran at champs class 3. I wasn't that good. I decided I'm a football player. I'm a soccer player. So
Okay.
I
I love to
retired.
hear
Actually,
these.
when Calabar got banned from champs for 1 year because of the fight between us and Kingston College,
Hmm.
that was during the time I was about to go to high school. So missed a year. Then I run in class 3. We're trying to return to get back to where we are. I stop running. We win champs 86.
Oh,
And then I leave Jamaica. Yeah, I
yeah.
left Jamaica. And moved to Brooklyn. I went to Canarsie High School.
Okay.
So the career got rejuvenated because thanks to my high school coach, Mr. Lamb, and Errol Lee, who's from Jamaica, who ran for the JDF,
Yeah.
saw this kid who's supposedly trying to train to get in shape for soccer, and said, "Which school you went to?" I said, "Calabar." He's like, "Oh, did you run?" I said, "Yeah, I ran at champs." He's like, "No, no, 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 no. You don't run at Calabar, run at champs, and you're just an average athlete. You're a runner. You must be a runner." So fortunately for him, that's how track and field got reintroduced to my
Wow.
mindset and
Yeah.
prioritized again, because I wasn't planning on running. I was done with running. The hurdles hurt your knee, the practice. Herb McKinley is intimidating. I love Coach Herb McKinley, God rest his soul, but you try to go to a practice session as a 12 or 13-year-old and see Herb McKinley, who's to me the greatest sprinter that ever lived. You're scared to run because you're like, I don't know if I'm going to run fast enough to earn the right to get his eyes to look at me.
Yes.
So
Yes. I
it's
can
like,
imagine. High
you know,
standards. Yeah.
and I ran with
High
some,
expectations.
I ran with some three of my high school classmates. The elders
Yeah.
ran for Jamaica. Herb, 3 names that would stand out: Howard Davis, Richard Buckner, and
Oh,
Patrick O'Connor. Those 3 were
wow.
my mentors. Those were my
Wow.
mentors. I was a little kid
Man.
looking up
Yeah.
to 3 guys who ended up. Patrick O'Connor ran at George Mason. Ended up being at George Mason when I was a freshman at Georgetown. So George Mason and Georgetown were big rivals, and I for this dude from Georgetown, because that's not supposed to happen.
I know.
There was a connection. There was a connection. Howard Davis and Richard Buckner ran at Texas A&M. So all 3 made Jamaica's Olympic team in '92, I think, or whatever year it was. But
Right.
all 3 are people who that was my introduction to high level high school athletics,
Right.
which then led to me feeling like I could run. But then I
Hmm.
ran slow and retired. So anyway, the journey is at Canarsie. I ended up becoming fortunate enough to be recruited by Georgetown because my high school coach, Coach Elliot Quao, who ran
Yeah.
at Canarsie and then ended up running at Rutgers
Hmm.
and was the silver medalist at the 1983 World Championships, 200.
Wow.
And so I was supposed to be the next athlete. The comment from my college coach, Coach Gags, was
Yes.
the next person who is the next Elliot Quao, give me a call. I was supposed to be the next Elliot Quao after After my high school coach talked about me, that didn't happen. But here we are.
Yep,
30
here we
years
are,
later,
right?
the
Here
journey
we
is I'm
are.
the next Coach Mckenzie, now representing the same school that I ran for, which is
That's
unbelievable.
so, ladies and gentlemen, we are congratulating the man on your screen, Mr. Alton Mckenzie, newly appointed director of track and field and cross country at Georgetown University. And we just heard an interesting journey. I'm sure there's more to it, but for the
Yeah, there's
sake
a
of
lot.
this
There's a lot in it.
conversation,
Yeah,
that
there's
was
a lot
cool.
in it.
Now,
Yeah.
in terms of your role, man, you please break down for us, even for a day, what's it like in the life of your new role? I know it's a COVID year, but generally speaking, under normal circumstances, director of track and field and cross country at Georgetown University. Walk us through the short version of what this means in terms of what you'll be doing.
A lot of time on the phone.
Oh,
A lot of time
okay.
on the phone. I think even within this COVID environment, there's still a lot of work to be done. There's a lot
Hmm.
of engaging you need to do with the alumni community, obviously. Fundraising, planning, strategic planning for what we want to look budget. Looking at budgetary wise what we can do, where we want to travel to when we can get to that point, and also looking at ways to enhance what we do, whether it be at a conference level or nationally. So a big part of it is the engaging with the community is one thing, but then obviously not being with the student athletes makes it a little bit challenging to do the day to day with them, and also planning with your coaching staff, planning with your support system, to figure out what direction you want to go in. When are we trying to run fast? Where are we going to try to run fast? What meets are we going to go to? And this is planning. I'm planning beyond just this season. You're planning long term of meets a year from now, where you want to go with those meets. Because obviously we're in a delicate position now because we have to wait on a lot of things health wise, but at some point we're going to come out ahead of this. We don't know exactly when that will be, but when we do, we want to be prepared strategically to move forward versus, we want to be proactive versus reacting to the current environment. So a day in the coach of a day in the life
Life.
of a
Mhm.
director is more so right now about a lot of planning and a lot of zooming and a lot of time on the phone.
All right. Again, this seems like a daunting, just looking on, you get the feeling when you watch the sporting circuit, the collegiate circuit, and you listen to the behind the scenes sometimes, and when you follow the news with colleges and coaches, it seems like it's such a daunting role to be the director of a program, because it's almost like in it's a fragile situation. It's
Twilight.
empowering, but it's very volatile, it's very fragile. I mean, how are you looking forward to this role in terms of maintaining the role, and how is it in line with what you would like to see personally
Right.
in your mission now that you're wearing the director hat?
Well, you see, my mission never changed, regardless of my title, because my goal was always to, student athletes come in, you want them to leave better than when they came in. So for me, the journey is not the 4 years they were going to run at Georgetown, or whether it be
Okay.
5 years. So for me, the vision doesn't change, because it was never about what you did just when you were competing at the university. It's about what value you're going to add to overall society beyond the gates of Georgetown. And so if that is a mindset, or that is a thought process all along, we've always said it's the entire student. We're educating the entire student. It's not just
Right.
about the computer. So it's building it's cura personalis. That's a Latin term. It's you're building the person. And so if that's the focus, that doesn't change regardless of the situation we're in. It changes the way you approach it. Example, we had a career panel last week Saturday. We usually would have done that in person. Well, we did it virtually, and the engagement with the alumni community, you don't lose that just because you're in a pandemic. It changes how you approach it. We're still trying to run fast. We're trying to still prepare ourselves to run fast. We're still sending workouts electronically and praying that they're doing them, because eventually
Okay.
we'll
Interesting.
get to a point where we will be able to train and eventually compete. But we want to make sure when we get back to that, we're not starting from scratch. And either way, it's going to be a painful process to get back to where you were. We just don't want it to be as painful as it needs to be based on you doing something in the meantime.
Man.
It's daunting, Wayne. So and it's daunting, but we're not in it by ourselves. And I'm not somewhere where it's unfamiliar. I'm not
There
gonna
you go.
go to a new office and don't know where to find where to park. I've been there 31 years. I'm familiar. It's just a different room in the house.
There you go. You don't need a transition. That's great.
No, I'm transitioning
Awesome.
out of transitioning out of this uncertain time. That's the transition to adjust
Okay.
to. But it's
All right,
adjusting.
man.
It's adjusting to what we can control, focusing on what we can.
All right. So for my audience, man, we're applauding Mr. Alton Mckenzie. He's now the newly appointed director of track and field and cross country at Georgetown University. And the thing is, I am just in awe how a little fellow from St. Catherine, Jamaica, has made it to be the director of track and field and cross country at a college like Georgetown University. It speaks volumes about your dedication, your commitment, and your effort over the years. Let
Yeah.
me put you on the spot
Mhm.
and open the floor for anything you want to add to this conversation that I might have not evoked, because I'm so caught up in celebrating you and this achievement, I might just have overlooked something. I can't ask the great questions you would when you are the host. So, AM, anything else you want to add to this conversation that I might not have asked?
Yeah, of course. I think one of the biggest things I would mention is, the value of a great education is what I would say is the most important thing to this equation. I'm an example of you being a mediocre athlete and you can still excel and achieve great things beyond the sport, beyond the field or the track long term. I think that's the biggest thing I would say is a value add that I want to bring up. I wasn't the champs record holder or won a medal at champs, but it doesn't stop you from getting to this point where you can have an impact in a way that's much larger and much more, I would say, long term versus just what you did initially. My goal was always to be able to produce on and off the track. Doing this now gives me the opportunity to continue building a legacy and continuing a tradition, because the pressure for me is knowing I experienced how well Georgetown competed. I was there
Right.
as a student athlete. I'm a witness to what we did over a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So that pressure to say to continue doing that, it's there, but I'm not comparing myself to Frank Gagliano. I can't do that. I'm not trying to fill any shoes. I'm
Right.
more
Right.
climbing on the shoulders of some giants.
There you go. Well, AM, when you talk about director, tell us a little bit, give the audience a little view idea of how big your team is. You have
Right.
other coaches, many other
Correct.
coaches, as a matter of fact,
Correct.
and a
Yeah.
lot of athletes in
Right.
different specialties. So
Right.
shed a little light for us on what it entails being a director in terms of the team and athletes. How big a
Yeah.
population are we talking
Right.
about?
Makes sense. So initially, I was the associate head coach prior to the director position. I was the associate head coach for our men's and women's track and field programs, overseeing sprints, jumps, hurdles, and relays. The role of director now has me overseeing the entire program, which amounts to close to a roster of um, 38 men, 38 women. So we're
Wow.
talking, maybe mid 70s, in the 70s,
Yeah,
76
that's
men and
big.
women total. Right now, the staff would be we have a cross country head coach, a distance coach on the men's side, and on the women's side, and we have a grad assistant, we have a jumps volunteer assistant, and then you look at now that I'm elevated to the director, I get to now figure out what I want to do as far as building a staff. So I don't want to let everything out of the bag yet with what I'm planning to do,
There
but
you go.
the purpose is to now then build a supportive team where you allow yourself to create an environment where I'm still going to be coaching, but I can't coach directly as much as I did. So now it's figuring out what's that balance to get a coach that
Yeah,
supports you to make sure
right.
that you can still get the work done, because it's more traveling. it's going to be more traveling. It's traveling not just to meets, but traveling to events now and traveling to more meets, because now I don't get to leave out cross country. I have to be a bigger part of what
That's
my
right.
program is doing, because that's a season. That's now part of my role to make sure that level of success we attain cross country, indoor and outdoor, is vital to our success. We've been a mid and distance based program known for that, but we've
Okay.
brought in to be give us more of a presence in the sprints, jumps, and hurdles, and that role doesn't change, or that goal doesn't change. But now it's about me now having the responsibility to to um to drive that overall, and that doesn't change. It's now more just I'm now driving the or steering the ship, so to speak,
Yeah.
figuring out how we navigate to get to that journey.
And where can anyone listening now and go, oh, I got to follow Georgetown. I got to see what's going on with them. What are some of the events and championships, whatever we can
Not
go, and also websites, or
yeah,
if there's social media handles
yeah,
that we can go to now to keep up with what you're doing and
right.
your wonderful team are doing at Georgetown.
Yeah, I wouldn't give you. There's not much events to go on right now,
Yeah.
but Hoyas Track is our Instagram.
And that's
H
HOYAS.
Hoyas, yeah, Hoyas
Okay.
Track
Okay.
at Hoyas Track. The Twitter handle is Hoyas Track and Cross Country, I believe.
Okay.
You can go, check. You can search us up.
Google.
But
Okay.
Instagram, I'm not a social media. That's another thing. You delegate appropriately. I'm not a big
I love it.
I'm not a big social media person, but I have access or responsibility over the content. That's a part of the job also that I didn't mention. Social media content also is something that I will influence or have an involvement in. I might not do it directly. I'll delegate to have maybe somebody who's more capable of doing it, but I'm involved in what goes into what the content is. And that wasn't new. That's not something new. It's just more deliberate on my part that I'm overseeing it. So Hoyas Track on Instagram. We're on Twitter as well. guhoyas.com is a website you learn about Georgetown athletics overall. Um, Another big thing I want to mention that I'm involved in, diversity, equity, and inclusion, our working group at the university. That's a big part of, to me, what's important to me. Like I said, it's about the entire
Mm-hmm.
person. And so I also want to make sure our students of color are having the best experience that they can have at Georgetown, because it's not lost on me. It's a predominantly white institution, and that's also a major thing to be the head coach or the director of track and field at that school.
So
Is important to me. That's important to make sure that the student athletes that are around, because I was one of them at one point, that they feel a comfort level and can be who they are there without feeling that they're compromising any part of their being as they navigate the space and grow as human beings.
diversity is truly key, especially in this day and age, and with the energy out there right now. Do you pin any symbolism in that respect on your appointment, AM? Or
Absolutely not, because
okay,
again, I've been there since 1989. I walked on that campus since 1989.
awesome.
I think one of the things that's telling for me is the people who are happy and reaching out to me were, I guess, feeling like, thank you. It's more about, not saying it's about time, but it didn't feel like it was a stretch, or it's who else would it be? A lot of it was, if not you, then who?
There you go. And then
So
again, it speaks to what we discussed earlier, which is your hard work, dedication, and commitment to track and field. Ladies and gentlemen, what a great conversation talking with Mr. Alton Mckenzie, congratulating him, applauding him in his new role as Director of Track and Field and Cross Country at the Hoyas. Yeah,
yes, go
Georgetown
ahead. Yeah,
University. I tell you what, AM, congratulations again. It's been a
thank you, sir.
pleasure. I wish you all the best. I know that Georgetown, I know the Hoyas are in good hands, in great hands. And I look forward to seeing how your Georgetown team is doing. Thanks again, man.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you down the backstretch in a Hoya hat. I'm gonna have to take care of it.
We'll work on that. But in the meantime, we can always say, go Hoyas.
Yes.
All right. You take care, man. Nice talking to you. And I hope to have you back,
Thank
from a
you. Thank you.
different perspective.
I won't make myself so busy. I won't big time you. You'll always be the phone. I'll answer the phone when you call.
Thank you, sir. That will be good. I can, I've never had a director of anywhere take my call, so that will be awesome. Take care, Am. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Man, pleasure is mine. It's always, you've been part of the journey. So what I'd add is thanks for being a part of this journey with me. It makes it even that much more rewarding to have somebody like yourself, because we're coming from a long way.
I know, man, and you have no idea. I can't show the real joy right here, but I'm so happy for you because, again, when you know someone's passion for something, and you see it play out in this role, and see where you are now and where you're coming from, man, it's so commendable, so encouraging, and just a great feeling. I know you'll be doing great, and we'll be here to share it with the audience, and also to have you come and share some of your insightful feedback as track and field returns to normal sometime soon, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, man. Great talking to you.
Thank you so much. As always, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much, Emily.